Today we're not actually in a real Tesla, so please don't worry that we're doing anything unsafe in a Tesla. We're not going to go for a autopilot ride. Today we're celebrating the super moon Tesla earnings report. We've got the team together this afternoon. You know, kind of a rare day for Tesla to do earnings on a Monday, and not with the other major companies that are reporting on Wednesday. And I think Elon did this because it's a super moon tonight, so hopefully we'll have a super earnings report. We're waiting for the numbers now, and we'll break them as soon as they come. I want to introduce the team today. We have to my left here, Brett Sifling. He is one of the top young traders here at the firm, investors. Then we have two of my managing partners here that I work with, Hatem Dihab, and of course, Ayel Shmilovich, who is involved with our tech group. I'm very excited about what's going to happen. I hope over the next couple months, not just this earnings report, but over the next several months, as Tesla begins to really ramp and finish construction of Tesla in Texas. But what this report's really about is the Model Y. The Model Y has been a huge success. So the risk on the report right now is that they've had, no Model S's or X sold in Q1. And that is a big margin driver for Tesla. So we're nervous actually about the numbers. What we're really going to see is if they only sell Model Ys and Model 3s, what margin are they really making on this, as well as how the other businesses are doing. But because they sold a record amount of cars in comparison to last year at this time, the numbers are going to be up substantially. So that's very bullish, obviously, for Tesla. But I think the expectations are kind of all over the place. The street's calling for 80 cents. Gary's calling for $1. I tend to work closer to Gary's numbers. But I'm very bullish on Tesla over the next 12 months to 2 years. But I think the real story is going to get really interesting as we get to the end of the year with Tesla Texas. So any thoughts you guys want to jump in here and give thoughts on Tesla before the big numbers come?
Before we start unloading this stuff, do you want to talk a bit about this, the consumer report,
No.
It's it's just
do we want to talk about the hypocrisy of a nonprofit that's paid for by the Ford Foundation? This is a positive day today, Hatem.
Okay, got
it. I've done enough about Ford all weekend, bringing out the ridiculous, way that our society works, where major corporations work incredibly hard to manipulate people's perceptions of what's real. And we're seeing that with Tesla. But that's how we actually know when Tesla's about to do something great. It seems like the FUD just ramps up into full, bullcrap mode whenever Tesla's on the verge of something great. And we all know the Cybertruck is a game changer of a vehicle. And if Tesla can successfully manufacture this vehicle and scale in a rapid amount of time, it's an enormous threat to Ford's business. So I get where they're coming from.
I saw some notes that people were expecting to see more insight into like the legislation of the tax credits. Do you think that they'll say anything about that or give any guidance on it?
I don't think we know. I think Tesla will be a beneficiary of the Biden plan, whether it be from solar. Look, I was just reading some articles about Miami, people buying houses in Miami, and now they're getting the insurance bill, and it's like we don't want to insure a house that's about to get wiped out by a hurricane. And if you don't understand the economic and human risk of climate change at this point, you're just ignorant. So I think companies like Tesla, which are really one of the few companies that's squarely aimed at dealing with this, are in the best position to profit over the next decade. And that's why it's our largest investment at our firm and why we recommend it.
It's also super interesting that because Tesla is such in like the headlines today, that all the other EV stocks were running today that were just any infrastructure like ChargePoint or other companies, like even Nikola was up.
That was all year.
Everything.
That was all year last year.
One of the most pathetic companies. But I did go in a hydrogen car the other day, and I was talking to my friend who has one, and I said, "Why didn't you buy a Tesla?" And he said, "Well, they sold me on this hydrogen thing. It's free. They give me a tick. They get free energy." But he's saying that it's now a big problem for him to fill up because the more hydrogen cars they sell, they haven't put in, charging. They're gas stations basically for hydrogen, but it's super expensive to do, and it's a real big pain. So he's really unhappy, not with the car itself, but with the whole infrastructure issues he's having with hydrogen. So now a lot of the stations are out or low, and there's lines just to fill up. So it's almost like the 70s again, where you can go through your gas crisis if you get a hydrogen car. But I think the infrastructure issue is one of the biggest issues why hydrogen will struggle compared to EVs. And I think most of the other EVs will still struggle without having their own charging infrastructure like Tesla. So that's a huge moat for Tesla, I think. But yeah, we're seeing, rally. Also, we saw FUV and CCIV Lucid rally today, which are, I think, the two best placed non-Tesla EV companies. And of course, battery technology, which has pulled back, LIT and many of the battery makers. I see that as a great opportunity right now to enter.
Man, Lucid is spending a lot of money in advertising. You see their commercials all over the place.
Yeah, and I've seen the new store too. I went into the new store in Beverly Hills, which is basically around. I mean, in Century City. It's
the Century City Mall.
What? Yeah. So I go. Yeah, I went to the mall.
No, I was just saying. I went there and I saw so.
Yeah, and they built a nice store. They copied the Tesla store, and they're copying the Tesla. And I don't think that's a bad idea, but I was the only one in the store. The Tesla store was packed. The Peloton store confused me. There was nobody in that store. The GameStop was empty as well. But the mall was pretty busy overall. But most people wanted to do stuff like they were eating and meeting with friends, and the restaurants, are coming back in a hurry. And I'm very bullish on the economy right now. Extremely as bullish as I've been, probably ever. I've never seen a scenario like this. And
I mean, we're faring so well as a country when you think about 200 million vaccinations happening, and people really have assets to have money to spend because they've saved so much the last year, And
I'm going nuts. I mean, I go out. I'm tipping huge. I'm trying to help people out, do my part with the economy. But you're absolutely right. I've never saved so much money. And not traveling to foreign destinations saves a lot of money. And so I've just been working for a lot for last year and saving my money. And now I'm going out to dinner, and I bought my brother lunch the other day, and I thought he's like, "You're buying lunch?" And I was like, "You're a lawyer, I'm in Bitcoin, man."
Some numbers are about to hit.
They're hitting.
Some numbers are about to hit because it started trading a little bit.
All right, we're getting some activity. We're getting some. Yeah, we got $100 bill for lunch, and I said, "I got it." I go, in Bitcoin, that's like nothing. He's like, "What do you mean?" And I go, "Well, each Bitcoin's like 50 grand." So like, what's $100? It's like nothing.
Did you try to buy your new Tesla in Bitcoin yet?
No.
We still don't know who.
I haven't bought anything with Bitcoin since that one.
What's the update on your plot?
Well, there is no update. I tweet Elon and he'll answer some of my stuff, but he ignored my update. But that's actually my institutional question for the conference call today. Was I'm waiting for my car, Elon. Where the hell is it? So I don't know if they're going to take that during the conference call, but I put it in. It's funny in the institutional questions for Tesla and then the retail questions for Tesla. There was something like 600 or 800 questions from retail investors, and there was like 28 from institutional investors. So it just gives you an idea of who's really, paying attention to Tesla. And it's definitely the retail investor. And I would say that there's better information online than you'd ever get, reading anything that Morgan Stanley puts out. Any numbers yet? I mean, I'm like,
it's trading a bit, but I'm not seeing anything.
Yeah, stock is moving down a bit, but not.
Yeah. I love those people who are like trading like 2 minutes before the numbers come out, and they're just like, So at 107. Right. So these things should hit soon. Let's see what we got. I do think we should have music.
It says it's trading because they said that the PR was highlighting that it would be available on the website. However, it's not actually out yet. There you go. They beat 93 cents versus 79 cent estimate.
93. They did beat.
Yeah,
they had them at 80 cents, and Gary had them at $1. And I thought Gary was being a little aggressive. He got up, maybe had like too much protein chaps to drink, and got to $1. But when I looked at the institutional estimates, everybody was at the same number. So this is proving that Tesla can make margin on the Model Y without the Model S. That's great news.
10.39 billion in sales, which was
Nice.
10.29 was their estimate, so a slight beat there as well.
Yeah.
What else you got?
594 million GAAP operating income.
Nice. That seems in line.
Yeah.
What are we seeing after hours? Where's the thing moving?
It's
It's going to stay even. Yeah, it's going to stay even.
Until the conference call, usually.
It's going to stay even, because it's like the market. There's probably so many participants in this.
Q1 deliveries, 184,000, up 109% year over year. Production was 180,000, up 76% year over year. So it's pretty in line.
Yeah, I mean, it's well, everything seems in line, but the numbers seem good.
They highlighted
the extra margin from the extra 10, 15 cents. Obviously Wall Street's off by 20% here. Not surprising. But they're so thorough. They've got to have picked up some margin anywhere. But do they have the slideshow out yet?
The new Model S. Should
Any
start
news on how much?
Oh, they're saying I'm getting my car shortly.
Very shortly. It's kind of
if
ambiguous,
it's a Q2 story, it's a non-event. So if I get my car in the next month, it's a non-event, so on and so forth. Okay, now we've got the numbers up here. I might have to put on my glasses though, unless Brett puts them on. All right, I've got glasses on. Sorry, I'm old. I can't even read that. You guys don't want it to my age.
Operating cash flow of 293 million in the first quarter. Debt and lease reduction.
See, you can't read it either. This is like the optometrist here. You just pull it up on this computer. What do you guys have? What do you guys see?
Well, the volume growth is really what brought it down. They got some regulatory credit revenue growth too.
Good.
Driven by further product cost reduction, so they also save some money on their production costs. They had 100 million positive impact from Bitcoin sale.
Oh, whoa.
There you go.
Whoa. Where do you see that?
Yeah,
And
that's what we were looking for.
There's your beat.
there you go.
Was he
That's
trading
exactly
Bitcoin?
what it was.
Yeah.
Did he
Exactly
put it on Bitcoin?
101 million.
What a smart man. He sold some of that Bitcoin. Really?
Yeah.
Really, Elon? Come on, man. You're trading Bitcoin now? Putting 100 million on the balance sheet profit?
Well, they said they could not count the gains unless if they just held it. So
he chipped off 100 million to beat numbers this quarter.
now listen, it doubled.
So strip it out. Like if you strip it out, what do you get? You get how many cents do you lose on 100 million? I think they've got 1 billion shares, so that's 10 cents. There you go. They're at 83 cents. They basically were in line with a Bitcoin sale. Good for you, Elon. Good for you. It's got to be. You got to be kidding me.
They're saying that they're expecting to achieve 50% average annual growth for vehicle deliveries.
Yeah, I think that's a fair number. 50% growth rate.
Shanghai continues to improve quickly. Berlin and Texas are making great progress. It's good to hear. Semi deliveries will also begin in 2021.
Yeah. Version 9 FSD City Streets beta is gonna launch soon. That's gonna be exciting.
Oh, by the way, my autopilot seems to be driving better and better. Like, I don't know if you guys notice this in your car, but like I take it on certain places every day, and it's really learned those places like really well, and it seems to be driving better. And I don't know. I think this thing is like constantly improving.
It's interesting that they said believe vision only system is ultimately all that is needed for full autonomy. Maybe a pushback against LiDAR and all these companies.
LiDAR system is going to end up being bulky, expensive, and not as good. That's
right.
The gross margin ended up being 26.5%.
Oh, that's huge. But does that like operating margin?
No, it's pure automotive.
Yeah, because if that's their automotive margins are up.
Yeah, because they were expecting it to slip further than the 24% that it was at Q4 last year. So they somehow
So
pulled it
somehow
off,
margins
even
are higher.
without-
I
yeah.
have to get through these numbers, and I'm not going to do it on the show right now. But these are good numbers. Elon. Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you. Man, there was a time it was like me and you, and it was like a really lonely time, and it's just super cool to see everything that I'd hoped Tesla would become happening. And I see things a certain way, and sometimes I'm wrong and sometimes I'm right. But when I'm right and these things happen, like what's happening now with EVs and climate, and really Tesla being the company that's the tip of the sword in forcing climate solutions on our society. And I'm super grateful. And humanity has a lot of reasons to be grateful for people like Elon, who deal with the tremendous amount of, I would say, difficulty in implementing things that are great for the world and great for us, but yet hurt so much big business that it's just like a constant attack. I mean, it's like whether it's Ford or the insurance companies or the car dealers or the oil companies, there's so much disruption with Tesla.
Do you think
so? Energy storage. I mean, energy storage.
One sec. What were you saying?
So we got energy storage up 71% year over year, basically driven by what happened in Texas. I mean, when you go through an episode like that, when basically the grid just kind of gives up, you're gonna see a lot of places that need to have these batteries in their
I mean, it's gonna help sales.
Totally.
And I don't think Texas solved any problems. We're Next Era Energy shareholders as well, and they lost several $100 million in this bad deal that went down. A lot of people lost a lot of money because of the Texas mismanagement of their energy system. And I think Elon was like, I got to put in backup for all giga if we're really going to stay in Texas, because, the bottom line is you can't run a huge battery and car facility with a shoddy electric system that clearly Texas has.
Wouldn't be a good look.
Yeah. You guys see anything out there in the presentation or numbers you want to bring up that maybe I certainly haven't seen? You guys see anything?
Do you think that the companies are going to have to start buying less and less regulatory credits from them now?
No. I don't think they can scale their cars. How many Mach-E's have they built and sold? I think they're doing a few thousand a month. I don't think it's even a drop in the bucket compared to how many cars they sell.
You tell us, you're king of the
Mach-E. I just drove the Mach-E, but I'll tell you, I was at Soho House in Malibu yesterday, and it's like a car convention over there.
Awesome.
And it's because it's next to Nobu, and so you got every car, whether it's McLaren or Lambos and whatever. And the guy had the new Porsche Taycan Turbo, and that thing is beautiful, man.
Yeah,
they built a beautiful car, and I look on the inside, and it's clean and smooth. They got rid of all the stupid knobs, and it looks almost like that Tesla type interior. And then you turn on the screen and it's like Roblox, and you're like, why can't they build technology? And then I read in the paper today that, Porsche is like, oh, we're going to focus on technology now. I'm like, now. So I go on to the configurator and I'm like, if I bought this Porsche Taycan, how much would it cost? The turbo. And you have a million customization options. I used to have a Porsche for a long time. I had a Porsche 911. I had two Porsche 911s when I was in my late 20s and 30s. So I drove one for 8 years and I loved it. And I think they're great cars. And I'm shocked they don't have an electric 911. It's shocking because it would sell like crazy. So I'm looking at this car. I designed this beautiful Porsche, so sweet. It's like $200K, right? So I'm like, dude, I'm getting my Plaid for $150K. Granted, it's not like this car as far as the interior and all the customizations. But then I go car, it's 200 miles per charge. It's 200 miles. And Porsche got like these double asterisks. It's like, well, we somehow can get 250 out of it, 260. I go, I'm going to pay $200,000 for a car that doesn't even go 200. Yeah, doesn't even go. So you got to have at least 300 miles in a charge car to, in my mind, not to have like any range anxiety. And it's shocking that Porsche can build such a beautiful car and then have no tech and a crappy battery.
I mean, listen, that
200 grand.
Listen, what they came out with now is they gotta focus on technology because they know they make beautiful cars, but it's no longer about the big turbos and the big engines and all that stuff. It's all about the experience inside, and I think they get it now.
Yeah,
and
let's say it's the difference between making a tech company, which is what Tesla is, right? A tech company that happens to make cars versus a car company that's trying to make technology. It's a very big difference. And that's, I think, what people who naysay on Tesla don't understand. Apple was not a phone company when they came in and take Nokia's business. This is exactly what's happening here.
Absolutely. And I would argue that across many industries, not just in cars or technology. If you're not technology first and you're a beauty company, well, you're going to have a hard time selling your products. And so it's not really just about the product anymore. And I think that's what we've learned. It's about the technology within the product, just like our firm. If we didn't use technology, we'd just be another RIA with 100 million and who knows. But because we leverage technology, we managed money for 15,000 people, accounts, and we're huge, right? I mean, and it's like, so without technology, it's like, good luck with whatever you're doing.
Another note that just came through that Q1 vehicle average sale price declined by 13%.
Yeah, that's the no Model S. Yeah, no Model S brings down average sale. To me, it's margin, but clearly there's margin in the Model Y and there's margin in the scale. But I think the part that Porsche and many of the other companies will struggle in is these two areas, technology and the battery. We're heavily invested in the battery part now because everybody who wants to scale needs good batteries. But nobody's been proven, whether it's Lucid or Arcimoto or Rivian. These are EV companies, and I would bet on those.
Yeah,
okay.
For sure.
But they haven't proven they can scale. Then you've got the legacy auto, okay, the Volkswagens, the Mercedes, the Porsche, the Fords, GM. These are companies that really know how to make cars. They make a lot of mediocre cars quickly, but they know nothing about technology. They certainly know nothing about social media and marketing. That's for sure. Okay. And so, the truth is, this is an enormous existential threat to the future of Ford and GM. I think GM's making more progress than Ford on the tech side and the EV side, and I think they get it more. But I think it's going to be real hard for these legacy companies.
Are they still backing Nikola, GM?
Probably, but it reminds me of IBM a lot. I'm old enough to remember when IBM dominated the computer business. It was in the 80s, I think it was, and I told my dad, it's time to sell IBM, and he's like, IBM's the gold mine of all gold. And it was for many years. And if you guys remember when we started GK, we had IBM on our list for a little bit. And then it was like, we sold it and we're like, IBM's done. Like they have not invented anything in a long time. And IBM literally has not gone up in a decade.
We sold it higher than it is today. The price we sold it at is higher. And it was like 9 years ago.
Yeah. And that's what happened. It's like, GM's rallied this year. But if you're going to look at like a long-term chart of this stuff, you will not gain wealth. That's for sure. But if there's anything I've learned as an investor that I believe more now than anything, now that I've been doing it for 27 years, is you've got to invest in the future. So even though like Tesla's market cap's bigger than every one of those car companies and everybody's like, that makes them a value, that's the ignorant way of looking at the stock market. What it's saying is nobody gives a crap about these companies anymore. And if you want to play there, good luck, because they're not going anywhere. That's what the market's saying. I think the future's in EVs. And if you don't get that, good luck.
Yeah, I did just come across like a random survey like right before this too that cars.com did. They do a national survey every single year. They said 66% of the respondents had an increased desire to do EVs. So I mean that's
we're seeing ridiculous demand for EV cars. Like again, the simple way to look at it is they've forced oil prices up so Saudi Arabia can pay their bills. And so now you get to pay $100 to fill up your gas tank.
It's like 450 out here.
Yeah, it's 450 gallons. So you go to the gas store and you spend this once a week or once every 2 weeks, depending on how much you drive. Let's say you fill up a tank once every 2 weeks. When you figure that out, that's about $2,000 a year difference than filling up your electric vehicle. So it costs about $20 to fill up a whole battery on a Tesla, and it costs about $100 to fill up the same car with gas. Now, if you do this, that saves you $2,000 a year. And if you do this for 10 years, that would save you $20,000, right? Now, you also save money on oil changes and brake pads, which you have to buy every 2 to 3 years with an ICE car that you don't need to do with the Tesla. And so let's tack another couple thousand on every few years for maintenance and service of an ICE vehicle, right? So if you take that $2,000 savings today and you buy Tesla stock with it, okay, and you do that for the next 10 years, so you put a total of 20,000 in, you know, my guess, if Tesla continues on the path that it is that you'll have enough money to buy 3 Teslas. So if you buy a Tesla today and invest the rest, that's what we're saying. That's the easiest way to build wealth in the future. Buy Tesla and invest the rest. And you will save $2,000 a year. You'll invest it with Gerber Kawasaki. We'll buy you Tesla with it. We'll buy you Bitcoin. And in 10 years, you'll actually be rich, giving up your ICE vehicle. Now, this is not a promise or a claim. This is a possibility. Of course, there's risk with all investments. Past performance not indicative of future results. But if you look at the past performance of Tesla and Bitcoin, and you just extrapolate out 50% of the return that it used to get, you will still be rich. So
you're getting too excited, Ross. You're getting too excited.
Listen.
Chill out.
Diversification is
I'm going to
good.
get my Plaid any day. That's what I got out of this call. That's the only thing that matters.
Well,
I'm driving the Model 3. I've been driving this 3 for 3.5 years or whatever. And, you know, now everybody's got one. When I got the Model 3, I was the only one. You know, and I said when everybody gets one, I'm going to have
now all
to
the
get
kids are driving them.
Yeah,
I was going to
half
ask
my
you
office has one. Half my office has one. I think we goosed sales at the end. I think it was.
It's important to also mention, guys, they deployed an additional 26, almost 2,700 supercharger stations. So they keep building that network, almost 25,000 stations now.
Yeah, you know, Elon said today that they're opening Malibu too.
Yeah,
so there are chargers in Malibu. I think at the Whole Foods.
I'm waiting for
I
that
don't think it's like a
Monaco one.
supercharger station. I think.
Yeah.
So he said something about Malibu, and there's that whole new area there where they're adding, and it's super nice. And then the Santa Monica supercharger station that they're saying is going to be huge, have food, and this is going to be the coolest place to hang out. This is where we're going to do the Tesla 420 parties. We're totally doing them at the supercharger station, and I hope it's close. Do you guys know where it is? Where it's going to be?
Yeah, it's going to be on 20th Street, I think, right where all the dealerships are.
Over there? Oh,
Yeah, right next to the ICE dealerships.
I know, it's like F you. No, and Elon, I'm sure you're watching this, but no, but for sure, do not put as many chargers as possible in that Santa Monica charging station because it will be full. It will be full with people.
65 stations, they said, going to be there.
Wow.
And they're V3.
Wow. Great.
Yeah, they're Yeah.
Is it all going to be solar too? Is he putting in the batteries and all that?
Probably. Speaking of solar, they deployed an additional 92 megawatts just the last quarter. You know, they really.
How do I measure what?
I mean, like they said, they deployed 92 megawatts.
Like, is that a lot? A little?
So it's a
Yeah,
lot of.
yeah.
I don't know. I don't even know what a watt is. Like, how do you measure a watt?
It's a unit of power, Ross. A watt is a unit of power.
Yeah,
Right,
We
I know, but
understand
it's like-
that, but it's like, can you give me some
Like,
reference
how do you
points
look at a
on like
watt,
whether
you
that's
know?
good or not?
Is that a light bulb full? I don't know. What is a white?
No, a megawatt. No, your house light bulb is like 60 watts. That's
Right.
92 megawatts. So that's
So I
92
can have a lot of light
A
bulbs.
lot
like
of
I
light
said.
bulbs.
92
Crap load of
million
light bulbs. I like that. That's great. Anything else we want to talk about our earnings for the week?
What about?
Oh,
No, I was
sorry.
just gonna say. So I saw that they're restricting some Chinese personnel, like in the military, from using
Yeah,
Tesla vehicles. I mean,
we've been
speaking of,
We've been seeing a lot of this China chatter to me, and it's sort of like I think it's this game where it's like
trying to put them in their place almost a little bit, like
I think it's like, look, we've given you this.
Yeah.
If you mess with us, we're gonna mess with you. And the Chinese government's pretty straightforward. Like, you can kind of tell what they want and don't want. They're kind of like
you either
fix
go
the
to jail or you
car.
don't.
Totally. And this
Well,
is
there's
always been a
backlash.
risk for China. It's any business that does business in China has the risk of a trade war. That's going to be a reality for Tesla as much as it is for Coca-Cola or everybody else that does business. Apple.
But he apologized. He apologized for crappy cars there. That's
I know,
weird.
and he never apologizes here. I saw that. But the way it works in China, that's the way it works. So I give Elon a lot of credit knowing how to play the game, whether people like it or not. And I know they don't like it, but we all do business with China, whether you like what China's doing or not. And I'm very much against their social policies. But from a business perspective, we do a ton of business in China, and we have to figure out ways to communicate with them, work better at getting our goals accomplished. China.
Hey, China is the biggest car market for every car manufacturer.
China, those
And
days are
we saw it with Apple, right? We saw it recently with Nike, with the Nike, protest. But as long as the people there love these brands, they're not going to give them up. As long as like you said, you got to play by their rules. You got to kiss their butts a little bit here and there. But it's a huge market, and ultimately, if you play nice, it pays off a lot, as Apple has shown.
That's actually the history of China. If you go back to the British East India Company, this has been going on for hundreds of years. China's the biggest trading country in the world in history. So this is the way they are. And if you study Chinese history, you play by their rules or you don't play. And that's the way it was for the British East India Company as well. And Shanghai actually was the first market in China for foreigners or Europeans. And Shanghai is now leading the way as well for companies like Tesla and a lot of the innovation that's happening in China, especially in the EV market. But when it comes down to dealing with climate change and dealing with EVs, China has a direct effect from the pollution that they've created, and it's damaging their society greatly, and they know it. So the Chinese Communist Party is very aware of the steps they need to take for their society and civilization to survive for the next 50 and 100 years, because that's the way they think. They're already planning this, and that's great news for Tesla and everybody else in clean energy. Now we just have to convince about the 30 to 40% of our country that climate change is a real thing and that we need to go all in.
Ross, so Tesla doesn't seem to be affected, but all the semiconductor shortages that every car manufacturer has been hit with. What do you think that is?
I think a lot of that is because they make their own chips.
Yeah.
I think that's becoming a competitive advantage for Tesla, just like it is for Apple. And so we're investors in chip companies here. And I've been spending some time looking at this problem and the solutions. And the truth is there's no short-term solution.
Yeah.
So it's going to be another added cost that people are going to have to accept, that the price of computer chips are going up. And, supply doesn't go up that fast. And so there's big investments coming from companies like Intel and others, but it's a couple years out. So this is going to be a challenge. I mean, Ford, it's affecting a lot of the companies that outsource everything. And I think, what we've learned from the pandemic is companies that outsource everything are much more vulnerable than ones that have shorter supply chains, more internal manufacturing ability, and more ability to diversify manufacturing base. So this has become a very important part of business. A lot different than the old days where you just ran everything through China and that was that,
I think the similarities between Tesla and Apple, there's so many of them, but this is exactly what they're both doing, right? They started everything outsourced, and they started slowly but surely bringing on, right? The Apple does the M1 chip, Tesla does, had Mobileye, had NVIDIA, now they went, doing their own stuff. So if you can, especially if you have a great leader, if you can streamline the process and control the outcomes, right? The closed system that they both created for themselves, that's ultimately what gives people this A+ experience, because they can control everything.
That's I think an incredibly good point. The similarities in that ecosystem control between Apple and Tesla is hugely powerful and important. I hadn't actually thought about it that way, because that is the Apple thing. It's like it's its own ecosystem. You want to put in peripherals and outside, it doesn't work that way, you know. But the experience is always pretty good, you know.
Yeah, you're gonna love this, Ross. I think I like to use that as our analogy too.
Yeah, he also says this all the
Brett,
time.
Brett likes to hear. Brett has heard me say this, but I say that we're like Apple and Tesla. You don't buy an Apple or an iPhone or a Tesla because it's a piece of hardware. You buy it for the integration, hardware, software, the ecosystem. So we do the management, we do the planning. You know, all the stuff that we do in house, taxes, whatever you want to do, we got it all in house, just like Apple, just like Tesla.
I like that. We are the Tesla of finance. I like that a lot. I think I might, if I tweet that, I'm sure they'll get well received.
Yeah.
Hey, is there anything in the Apple report? Is there anything in the Apple report later this week?
Yeah,
that
do we want to do a quick rundown, you guys? On we got a lot of earnings coming. You know, Tesla wanted its own full moon day today. I thought we were gonna get a full moon graphic going here. I don't know.
Full pink moon. I don't know what that means, but it's a full pink moon.
It's an awesome night to go outside and try out your cannabis. But there we go. Yeah, you know, we got where's my is that your Tesla moon? We got the Tesla moon. It's supposed to be a full moon. Is that full? That could be Mars, actually. I think that's Mars, because Mars is the red planet. That's okay. I'm sure Elon will appreciate that. Back to the car.
So Wednesday is going to be a packed day. Tuesdays, not some.
Wednesday we got Apple.
We got Apple, Facebook, Shopify, Spotify.
Anybody have any thoughts on Apple? I mean, I don't have anything new for Apple. They didn't do it.
Apple, yeah.
With Apple, I
Apple doesn't have a solid report, but I mean, I'm just like, they're just selling computers, is the way I look at it.
Their computers are killing it, honestly, and the new M1 computers are the biggest leap they've had in computing in a decade, honestly. And I can't even use my old computer anymore because the new one's so good.
I think it's just continuous upgrade cycle on Apple hardware, and then solid
and more services and
sales on their monopoly on the services, and you know, I think they have a good quarter.
Yeah,
you know, I've never bet against Apple. You know,
no.
my whole career.
Don't trade it.
Facebook has decent numbers, but I think this new Apple update's going to destroy Facebook's ad business. And
one can only hope.
Zuckerberg's pissed.
Yeah, you should be pissed.
He should be pissed.
You know, some of the major ad companies have reached out to their customers and explained to them that their ads will not work as well in the future. Like that, it is basically like a whole new world for these companies like Google and Facebook. And it makes the value of these types of ads much less, and the cost is still very high. So people are going to realize organic social media, traditional advertising, even some of the methods we've used, like advertising during sports, having events, branded entertainment, you know, things like that is where you're really going to get eyeballs, not from Facebook and Google ads. And young people barely use Facebook at all. So, you know, I think Facebook is doomed, and I'm really happy about it.
No, I sent out a Facebook invite, and 3/4 of the people didn't even receive it.
Yeah, you had to like take back your Facebook invite because it's like
I had to decide which one was the older man method. Was it sending an evite or sending a Facebook?
Send an invite. Send an invite. You might as well have like pigeons coming.
So I went with the less old man version.
I would just like write on a piece of paper and stick it out and put it on people's offices. I don't know.
On Thursday, we've got Twitter, Amazon, Caterpillar, McDonald's, and
so Cat has a big
Gilead.
number. We're long deer.
Amazon the final goodbye to Bezos.
Yeah, it's Bezos' goodbye. Amazon has
great
a good
last
number.
letter.
I think everybody has a good number. Write this down. Everybody has a good number this week.
I agree.
Think about it.
I think earnings are going to be way stronger.
You've held back everybody for a year, and now you've opened the gates. And last year's comparisons, things were already going down in March. And so you've got this 1 month that's easy to beat. You know what I mean?
In Vegas, Ross, this weekend.
And now you've got all the extra stimulus, you know, going nuts in the marketplace. So then when you think about Apple and you think about all the other people reporting this week, like Amazon, like it's the ideal retail environment right now between stimmies. Like people can get hired right now. If you want a job at a restaurant, they're hiring, like, so we've seen employment come back, and we've seen higher wages, higher savings rates. We've seen more money pumped in the economy, zero rates. In fact, I have a meeting with one of the top professors at UCLA School, at Anderson School of Business, an economist tomorrow. I get to teach in the class for a graduate school econ class. This is was not my dream as a child, but I'm doing it. But I was like, dude, I have a lot of questions for you, because actually you're the guys that help us understand economics, and my questions are, can you create this environment with all the stimulus and such and really not have inflation? Because I think that's kind of what we're going to get. But economically, it's kind of hard to explain how that could happen, Yeah. So,
well, anecdotally, a lot of people trying to hire restaurant friends who own restaurants and so forth can't find people. Right? They're having a hard time getting people to hire.
I tell all restaurants the same answer. You want to find a person, start paying people real money.
Yeah.
They can't find people at $10 an hour, but they can find people at 15. See what's happening now is, when you've got the opposite supply and demand imbalance for labor can get higher wages. And that is the inflation people are talking about. But in this case, it's good inflation. And that's my theory right now, that we don't have bad inflation right now. We actually have good inflation. And as long as that good inflation stays under a certain norm, we might get a little spike on the short term, but this could be an incredibly profitable time for America. Like, I've never seen in my life the combination of these things happening all at the same time. So, hold on your seats, man.
Yeah.
Do you think we need to change the way that we measure inflation? Because it does feel like
cigarettes are still
Well, it's like the CPI index. It seems
there's like two things.
Yeah, to clients and people, they're like, oh, well, I don't even believe in it anymore.
Yeah.
Like,
well,
it doesn't matter.
There's asset inflation. That's
CPI is a comparison to itself. Like,
Yeah.
so is it really inflation? Well, you could argue inflation is different for every person depending on their lifestyle. Like, I know people who don't spend money on anything, and there's no inflation in their life at all.
Yeah, but if you look at
nothing's changed.
like hospitality, restaurants, taking trips, school, medical
Well,
costs,
once
all
again,
of these things are
if
very
you go to
inflationary, and
Hawaii-
a lot of times it's the most expensive part of their lives.
Yeah, but like, if you go to Hawaii, for example, where everybody's going, you have inflation.
Going next month.
Okay, so you have inflation. Save your money. But if you're like me and you're going to Lake Arrowhead, the prices are the same. Like, we got a house.
Hey, do you know how much an Airbnb is in Lake Arrowhead right now?
Yeah, I know. I got one. I got one of the
Like
nicest ones.
3 times the cost of last year.
Yeah, it was reasonable. It was really reasonable. I just rented a house in Laguna, and it was fair. It wasn't for like the average person.
I also feel like it
income,
got a
but,
lot
like,
worse in the last month. Like, even a couple months ago, you could still book
Once
trips
again,
that
if
were
you do
fairly cheap.
everything that like Disney tickets right now, if you do what everybody else wants to do right now, it's going to be really expensive. If you do stuff that's off the beaten path a little bit, nothing's changed.
Well, it's like spring, right? It's loaded, right? So when you unlock spring, it's going to go further than it's supposed to, but it'll come back. So that's the transitory thing that Ross and the Fed keep talking about, the transitory inflation. Like,
well, right. Like, I want to go internationally traveling, but like, I'm not going to go this year.
Correct.
Because it just doesn't make any sense to.
Mess.
Why would I risk anybody, like my kids or anybody?
Europe is opening for
Yeah,
vaccinated
but
US
the vaccine, you can come and you can test it on all of our variants. And I'm like, thanks. That's what I want to do. I want to go to Greece and get COVID version 79 that nobody's ever seen before. No thanks. No, thank you.
If you're vaccinated, you should be fine.
Yeah, but listen, that's not the point. That's not the point. Why do you want to be the guinea pig for the corona vaccine? I don't want to be the guinea pig. Let's see how many variants I can go by and which one works. No, thank you. Okay, I'm happy that I can go out right now and party with my friends down the street. That's good enough for me. I am so excited not to wear a mask and sit with my friends and have a beer. That's the only thing I care about, actually. I've decided. Just hanging out with my friends and doing something fun. I don't need to go to,
Well, most of the rest of the country wants to travel, so.
Listen, I get it. I get it. And I think people should do what they want to do. And people can go to India if they want to have a wonderful trip. But I'm not, and
Super sad.
and I'm not the guy who likes to do the same thing everybody else is doing. The reports I've gotten back from Hawaii, Hawaii is always a great place, but I'm not really into massive crowds. So, I think to each their own. But what I think from an inflationary standpoint, things seem pretty under control right now. Unless you're trying to buy lumber.
Or lithium.
Yeah. Or lithium. Or actually, honestly, I bought some more Freeport Macroeconomics today, more FCX, because these commodities are going up. But it's also the dollar's going down.
On Friday, we have all the old oil companies.
Oh, Friday's
reporting.
oil day?
Oil day.
Well, I'll be at Lake Arrowhead then. So I'll be hopefully hiking by
And AstraZeneca.
while the oil companies report their gains from
Greece welcoming back international visitors in time for the European summer. Tourism.
We got like another news show.
That was our European telecast.
Yeah, that was our European.
Thermo Fisher actually reports on Thursday as well.
Big fan of Thermo. All right, let's wrap it up, guys.
Hi, guys.
So we get to the conference call, and I can continue to do SEC filings for our new fund, which is coming. It's a quiet period, so I can't tell you anything about it yet, other than it's going to be amazing, and you can find out at advisorshares.com. Thank you all for joining us. It was a wonderful Tesla earning. What, is Tesla down after hours?
Yeah, it's down about 20 points.
Down.
20 points. What's wrong with these people? Oh, they found the Bitcoin. So I'm sure they're going, you boosted the Bitcoin.
20
Don't worry,
points.
kids. Don't worry, kids.
Every day. That's a small movement for Tesla.
I know, seriously. Volatility is your friend. Remember, write this down. Volatility is your friend. And it's always nice to have a little dry powder somewhere, just in case an opportunity comes your way.
And if you guys have any questions too, feel free to reach out to us directly. I'm Brett at GerberKawasaki.com. And also make sure you guys are following us on social media. Click subscribe on our YouTube channel because we do Big Earnings Show as well as a few other shows throughout the month. So that we're really excited
What
about.
do they say? They say smash that subscribe button.
Yeah, smash
it, man. Come on. Subscribe.
Russ is so young and hip.
Listen, I'm on YouTube, man. I got multiple.
No,
Are you on
you're an
TikTok?
influencer, Ross.
I'm not on TikTok. I'm not on that.
I took the Get Invested TikTok. So
Yeah. No, we're on TikTok. I'm not, but we have a TikTok team here. Anything else you guys want to put in there? The GK team wants to thank you. Anything?
I think
No?
we're good. Thank
All
you,
right.
guys.
Have a great afternoon. We're going to jump on the conference call. We're going to hear what Elon has to say. That usually puts some fun into the whole trading thing. I'm glad it was a great earnings report. All of us Tesla investors.
Yay for Bitcoin.
Yeah, yay for Bitcoin. We can take a deep breath. We know that what is he? What's he call himself? The Techno King is still firmly at the helm, and the master of coin is doing some good Bitcoin trading for his shareholders. So really stoked to be a part of the Tesla community. I love everybody in our Tesla community and appreciate all of you that support GK and support me, especially on the internet when we take on the biggest companies in the world that are destroying our future. And I appreciate everybody's support as we fight for the future for us and our children, where we can breathe outside and have clean beaches and enjoy nature and hikes, not in a Ford Bronco. So have a great afternoon, everybody, and we'll see you soon. Thanks for being on the show.